I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guide. Also today, I'm at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia. The Crewe Railroad Museum is located on 125 Carolina Avenue in Crewe, Virginia, and is open if you check the web for the hours. It all began in about 1993, but didn't start this way. Originally, the town of Crewe was planned and built by the Norfolk and Western Railroad in 1888. The town was named after a large railroad town in Crewe, England. The site is where the railroad's division headquarters and Crewe terminal and shops were located. There used to be a roundhouse just south of the site, which was demolished likely around the 1950s when most diesel locomotives mostly took over the system. The Norfolk and Western Railroad soon donated the land to the city of Crewe, Virginia. In 1982, the Norfolk and Western and Southern Railway merged to form the Norfolk Southern Railroad. Also, the yard just south of the site is still active as well. Also, the museum is housed inside the replica Norfolk and Western train depot, which is this one, and it was built around the time the museum started. It is the main building on the grounds with a similar construction as the original passenger station in town. The tracks would go to this location where cars would be kept while waiting to go on to their next location. A lot of the siding tracks were removed, but only one set of rails remain. In 1993, a museum opened at this location, which is this one, the Crewe Railroad Museum. Also inside the depot features several exhibits, including a model of the roundhouse used by the railroad in town, and trains of the steam era by Al Gerard of Washington, North Carolina, and a model railroad layout done by Ron Timma of Jetersville, Virginia, as well. Today, the museum continues to preserve railroad history for years to come as well. Okay, you can see right here is a handcar that was used around the Norfolk and Western Railroad many years ago, and what you would do is like how you would see the motion with my arms, is how you would move the pump up and down. There would be a person facing this direction while standing here, or facing the other person it's moving the car with, and also the car would be moved much as you can, move it until your hands got tired, until you'd reach your destination as much as you could. Now you can find it near the pedestrian and vehicle entryway here at the museum, just under this canopy. Here you can see here is Norfolk and Western Maintenance of Way cart, speeder number 60434, which was built by the Fairmount Company, 64034 actually. And also this speeder has been here for years and was used on the tracks to inspect and make sure everything turned out good. And yeah, now you can find it here at this end of the museum. I think this cart might have been a speeder many years ago, because without the motor, or it might have been a maintenance of way cart. And also, this cart has been right here for many years since it arrived at the museum, and yeah. Okay, here's another one of the speeders that's in the collection, and this one's under the canopy at this end of the museum, which is by the vehicle or pedestrian entryway. And this one was powered with a motor, and I think it's missing another motor that goes about right here, and right there is where the person would operate the locomotive, the speeder actually. And yeah, what you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 1723. Norfolk and Western 1723 was built by Pullman Standard in 1941 and is a passenger coach. This car saw service on the railroad's Powhatan Arrow passenger train. This car was used on streamlined passenger trains on the Norfolk and Western Railroad and was used as a daytime car for many years. It was also one of the cars that were part of the wreck in Cedar, West Virginia in 1956 with a Norfolk and Western 484 J-Class steam locomotive, which is 611, which of course survives today. In 1970, it was rebuilt at the Norfolk and Western Roanoke shops in Roanoke, Virginia, and was likely renumbered 1004. Then it was retired and was donated to the Tidewaters Chapter NRHS in Cape Charles, Virginia. Then it was donated to the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia. Also, it was carefully restored to its former glory. Today, it is preserved here at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen on display today. And also, you can even visit the interior of the car as well. What you see right behind me is United States Army 606. United States Army 606 was built by the Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio in 1945 and is the 8784th steam locomotive built by that factory and is a 280 consolidation type steam locomotive and is an S160 class steam locomotive. Originally, it was numbered 5846. It was originally equipped with buffers and chain couplers to be used in England on the tracks. It was used to haul the British War Department's heavy freight. In 1951, it was then renumbered 606 and was brought to the country it was built in and was then used at the Fort Eustis, Virginia military base. Then it was retired, and in 1971 it was donated to the city of Clifton Forge, Virginia, where it was on display at Falling Spring Station. Later, it was donated to the Allegheny Central Scenic Railroad, which is now known as the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, but never operated there. Later, it was displayed at the United States Army Transportation Museum in Fort Eustis, Virginia. Then, sometime later, it was then owned by a gentleman named Jack Showalter of Goshen, Virginia. It was rusting very badly because it had sat outdoors in the elements for years. In 2005, it was decided that it could be a good display piece for the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia. It was then cosmetically restored thanks to the efforts of Will Harris, and it was then taken apart in sections and moved to its new home at the Crewe Railroad Museum and was carefully reassembled as well. Today, it can be seen here on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen today, and also you can even visit the locomotive's cab and sit where the engineer and fireman used to sit, and even ring the locomotive's bell. And that's how it's done. Okay, I'm going to show you all the train exhibits they have inside the depot, and this is the replica depot, by the way. And I'll get behind the camera and show you around, so here we go. Okay, so as we start, Let's start over here. Here's some pictures, an old lantern on the wall, and look at all these. Here's what the roundhouse would have looked like here in Crewe. Pictures of veterans, it looks like. Old steam engine. Some models of Norfolk and Western steam engines that would have been built in Roanoke. Old typewriter. Look at all that. There's a velocipede. And all these back here. Let's look at these plates up here on the wall. And 3 Norfolk and Western steam engines that would have been built in Roanoke. Wow, I like how they have this set up. And here's what the steam engine would have looked like when it was on its way here and when it arrived. And yeah. And also, here's in this building here. And this is the model railroad display, but we'll look at it for another video. And yeah, pretty amazing how they have all these on the wall. Let's look at this HO model of 1590. I don't know if you can see, but feel free to pause and read that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to show you all the model railroad display back here, so I'll get behind the camera and show you around. So here we go. Okay, so here's the Lionel layout. This is the model railroad section. They have it off for now, but let's look at these on these cases for now. These are some memorabilia from the railroad, but some model trains in here. And I like how they have this set up. Yeah, look at these model trains up here on the wall on this shelf. These look like American Flyer standard gauge. And yeah, and here's a painting of a caboose, an A-class steam engine and a J-class steam engine. The A-class is pulling hopper cars full of coal, while that engine, the J-class, is pulling the Powhatan passenger train. And yeah, let's look at these. Oh, this looks like what the room we're in. And all this. Here's when the steam engine came here. Some more model trains in this case, and right on top of it. And these look like a Winston Lynx pictures that he took many years ago. You can see how he did. He liked doing pictures in black and white at night, which is pretty amazing. Some more pictures that are not even by him, it looks like. And yeah, now let's look at the model railroad. So this is O scale, and these look like Lionel products, and yeah. But we're just gonna have it off since while I do all the talking, it's not gonna run, so you can hear me better, because it's usually noisy when it's running. There's Thomas right there. I like how well detailed this is. Pretty cool how they have this set up. And there's Thomas's best friend Percy, and they have 2 copies of Annie and Clarabelle here. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I like how they put this together. Okay, you can see right here is 2 crossing signal lights that may have been used around the area many years ago, and possibly by the railroad, if that's true. And they are right here for display, and also shows what it would have been like when a train came to a crossing, as it still does today. And yeah. Okay, you can see right here is a signal light that might have been used here in Crewe many years ago. And now here it is today at the Crewe Railroad Museum, and that was used to let train crew know when to stop or go and all that. And now it's here in one of the corners. Okay, you can see behind me is another one of these signal lights that are here at the museum. And also the one we just looked at is near the diesel, and this one is near the caboose, as you can tell. And also, the way we saw them is the way they would have been set up is how they would be today when they were used by the railroad. And they still do the same practice, but with modern signals. And yeah. Okay, you can see right here's a maintenance avoid cart, but When you're around it, please be mindful that there are loose nails here. This cart, as you can see, was used to carry tools, ballast, and other types of materials. It would have been used to take on tracks many years ago when the maintenance crew was working on the railroad. And yeah, okay, you can see right here's another maintenance of way cart. It looks like the one we just looked at in front of the diesel. And also, like I mentioned, it would carry objects that were used to work on the railroad with, like tools and all sorts of things. And you can find it behind the hand car, just underneath the canopy by the pedestrian vehicle entryway. Vehicle and pedestrian entryway, yeah. What you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 2185. Norfolk and Western 2185 was built by Electromotive Division in LaGrange, Illinois in 1952 and is the 163/83rd diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a GP7U type diesel locomotive. This locomotive was originally built as a GP7. This engine was never actually built for the Norfolk and Western Railroad. Originally, it was owned by the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad and originally was numbered 2739. In 1980, it was rebuilt as a GP7U by the railroad shops in Cleburne, Texas, and was renumbered 2050. It was then sold to the Georgia Southwestern Railroad in 1989, and it was renumbered 2185. It was then sold to the Virginia Southern Railroad in 1998 and kept the number. It was then retired and was acquired for display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen on display today. Also, it was repainted in a Norfolk and Western livery, and like I mentioned, it was never used by that railroad. It was just repainted as a tribute to that railroad. Today, it can be seen here on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is on display today, and also you can visit the locomotive's cab and sit where the engineer used to sit and even ring the locomotive's bell. Also, if you're wondering where the bell is just next to the cab access steps, but please be careful not to bump your head when trying to reach for the bell in order to ring it as well. And that's how it's done. Okay, you can see here is a switch stand set right here, but you can't switch the tracks since one of the remaining switches from this area is still here, and you can't switch the track though since the diesel's in the spot, as you can tell. And yeah, but this was used to switch these tracks here, but the track going to the right, my right, I should say, is no longer in this spot, but the track the diesel's facing is still leading out to where the Norfolk Southern yard is. And yeah, what you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 26604. Norfolk and Western 26004 was built by the Norfolk and Western Roanoke shops in Roanoke, Virginia, somewhere in the 1900s and is a 3-bay hopper car. Originally, the car was numbered for 1812. It spent many years being used to haul loads and was used on freight trains with all different types of freight cars or with just identical hopper cars. More likely, it was used to haul coal. Later on, it was renumbered 26004. Then, in 1982, the Norfolk and Western and Southern Railroads merged to form the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and it was likely used by that railroad. Then it was retired from service and was then acquired by the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is today. It was also carefully repainted to its former glory. Today, it can be found here on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is on display today. What you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 518-704. Norfolk and Western 518-028 was built by the Ralston Steel Car Company in Columbus, Ohio in 1937 and is a boxcar. Originally, the car was numbered 54367. This car spent many years on freight trains hauling cargo like boxes and anything that this car would have hauled many years ago. Then it was likely placed into maintenance of way service starting in 1972, as well as that it was renumbered 515028. Then it was likely used by the Norfolk Southern Railroad when the Norfolk and Western and Southern Railroads merged to form the Norfolk Southern Railroad in 1982. Then later on it was retired from service and was then placed on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen today. Today it can be found here on display where it is today. What you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 604143. Norfolk and Western 604143 was built somewhere in the 1900s and is a boxcar. This car, however, never actually used this number. It was originally numbered 600,651. This car spent many years on freight trains hauling cargo like boxes and anything that this car would have hauled many years ago. Then it was likely used by the Norfolk Southern Railroad when the Norfolk and Western and Southern Railroad merged to form the Norfolk Southern Railroad in 1982. Then later on it was retired from service and was then placed on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen today. It was renumbered to 604143. Today it can be found here on display where it is today, and it is used as a storage car as well. What you see right behind me is Norfolk and Western 518-501. Norfolk and Western 518-501 was built by the International Car Company in Kenton, Ohio in 1969 and is a C31 class steel cupola caboose. Was originally numbered 518-510. This caboose was used on the back end of freight trains and was used as the train crew's office as well, where the crew would check toward the front of the train to see if there weren't any problems, and the crew would even do other work inside and even relax when having to need a rest. Later, it was renumbered to this number. Later on, this car was retired and was then put on display here at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia. Today, it can be found here on display at the Crewe Railroad Museum in Crewe, Virginia, where it is seen on display today, and also you can even visit the interior of the car as well. Well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lap Train Guy. Also, I hope to see you all again real soon. And if you didn't subscribe to my channel yet, the subscribe button is just down below the video screen. And if you didn't give the Facebook page a like yet, here's where you'll want to go. And if you didn't give the Instagram page a follow yet, here's where you'll want to go as well. Also, be sure to get your merch at teesprings.com. The link is in the description box below, along with the Facebook and Instagram pages. And as always, remember to subscribe to the Train Guy. And also, thanks for being along the journey to help celebrate 10 years of Matthew Lap Train Guy on YouTube. So this is Matthew Lap, host of Matthew Lap Train Guy, signing out. Until next time, all aboard!